Hi, I'm Lauren, and I'm a graphic designer. Let me begin by saying I've been designing for almost 2 decades, and I wanted to start this episode of my video and talk about the true life of a graphic designer, the good, the bad, and the ugly. When I started out, I had this idea that graphic design was a sexy job. I saw it in rom-coms, I saw it in other movies. It depicted people working in open studios with big white columns, large windows, and everyone dressed like they were walking out of a Vogue magazine. I wanted to be that. I went to a prestigious art school, the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore, and even my professors made the profession seem sexy. They even looked like they were dressed coming out of a Vogue magazine. But I quickly realized my vision of the career I chose was very different than the real life. No, I was not catfished into this reality. I do love this career I've built over the years, but there are so many things that I wish I could tell my younger self 20 years ago. So that is why I'm here today to tell you about what it's like to be a graphic designer. If you're new to the industry, the design industry, and thinking about becoming a professional graphic designer, or just curious about the design industry, then this channel is for you. Make sure you hit subscribe below so you can continue learning from my experiences, but also my mistakes. Okay, I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you, but what I won't do is reveal anything specific about my clients or my clients' names, and I will speak only in general terms. I'll tell you about all my big wins, my big losses, and my total fails. But before I get into all of that, let's start at the beginning. So when I was in high school, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do after I graduated, just like any other high school student. I was taking a class on architectural drafting in school, and at the time I loved it. I even drew the plans of my house and on blueprints, like you put it through the blueprint machine. It was really cool. And with that, I thought maybe I wanted to be an architect or an interior designer. And I did some light research. The internet was still relatively fresh at the time. It wasn't robust as it is today. And I realized there was a lot of math and measurements and things like that involved in that type of career. And I felt like math is not my strong suit, and that probably wasn't the right thing for me. In my junior year of high school, I was taking advanced placement art classes, and I was the president of the National Art Honor Society. My art teacher, who was an incredible person, I love her, she helped me build up my portfolio and said I should attend a portfolio day in Miami. I grew up in South Florida, so shout out to all the SoFlo people. This is where Portfolio Day, it's where, art schools from all over the country come together, and students come with their giant portfolios. And, probably today everyone brings their portfolio on an iPad, but at the time everyone dragged these big portfolios with them. They were probably big giant cardboard flat pieces that were, filled to the brim with all different types of art pieces, or these big black portfolios with handles that weighed 1,000 pounds. So we brought those, you show them to the college representatives, and some students, they were accepted on site. Their work was incredible, and the representatives were like, we want you to attend, and their day was made. And others, they went and they got information about how to apply and what credentials they needed to get into the school. And I didn't really know a lot about art school. This was my first portfolio review day. I wasn't as experienced as some of these other kids who actually went to an art-based high school. So I really went more for the research and should try to figure out what art schools would interest me. I just didn't know what I wanted. So I met with some representatives, and I found Rhode Island School of Design. Obviously, they had a very long line of people to review portfolios because they are probably the top art school in the country. And I love the idea of living in Rhode Island. I grew up in South Florida. I wanted to live somewhere cold that had seasons. My dad went to school in Rhode Island, so I thought that would be cool if I went there. So I learned they had a pre-college program for high school students in the summertime. Normally I would go to sleepaway camp, which is where I went every single summer, but I decided to take that summer off and attend a 6-week program at their school between my junior and my senior year. And there I decided to pick graphic design. This was really important part of my life because it basically planted the seed and the roots of my career. So I picked graphic design as my 6-week major because it sounded interesting. I had no idea really what it was. Literally, I had no idea. Most of my work that I did in that class was not on the computer. It was, using rulers to draw straight lines and marker comps and cutting out colored paper and gluing it together to create compositions. And one of our last projects, we put it in the computer. So we did an art piece and we traced it in the computer in Adobe Illustrator, and we did some cool stuff in Adobe Photoshop. I think at the time it was like Adobe Illustrator 9 and Adobe Photoshop 6. Geez, does that date me? Anyways, in this class, we designed posters and advertisements and postcards and some other things. And it was really a program that was set up just to like whet our taste buds so we can see what graphic design was and if it was the avenue that we wanted to pursue for our career later in life. And I have to tell you, I absolutely loved it. I loved how you can manipulate art on the computer. I loved that I didn't get my fingers dirty because I really don't like getting my hands dirty. I was just totally obsessed with the whole concept, the whole idea of graphic design. So from that moment on, I decided this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. In my senior year of high school, I applied to the Rhode Island School of Design, also known as RISD. So, if you know RISD, then I guess you're with it. And I also, for my second school, I applied to the Maryland Institute College of Art, also known as MICA, and located in Baltimore, Maryland. So after a few months, I found out I got into MICA. Yay. So in the spring of my senior year, my parents and I, we got on a plane and we traveled to Baltimore, Maryland to attend their open house. And while I was really excited that I got into one of the two schools I applied to, because I only applied to two schools, I was still anxiously awaiting my acceptance to RISD. I had a 4.0 on my advanced placement portfolio, which is basically like, you take like AP English and you can also take an AP art class. I had a very high grade on that class. I had straight A's for all my other classes. And I even had a written recommendation from a professor at RISD. So in my mind, there was no doubt that I would not get in to RISD. But while I was at MICA during the open house, I found out I didn't get in. It was a huge disappointment. And to be honest, there were a lot of tears. So while I was still on campus at MICA, I accepted my offer to attend there in the fall. I chose MICA's 4-year graphic design program as a major, of course, because, graphic design. And I threw myself into it. Every semester I took 18 credits, and I even took credits during the summer. I was able to graduate a semester early. But while I was in college, I did some key things that definitely helped pave the way for my career. So if you're in college now, pay attention, or if you're planning to go to college, pay attention, because these are things you definitely want to do while you're studying. Okay, number one. I networked with professionals in the graphic design industry and the print industry. I joined AIGA, which is the American Institute for Graphic Arts. I was my college's chapter president for 1 year, and I volunteered at events. Any event that a student volunteer can work at, I was there. I became friends with local graphic design professionals and other students at neighboring schools who I'm still friends with today. And it didn't matter that I was a student. Professional designers, they were eager to help me. They loved being involved with students at the different schools, and I was eager to meet them. And one of them even gave me an internship for a semester. So I can tell you that networking definitely paid off there. This is also not the norm, but I did meet my husband in AIGA too. After graduating MICA in December, for the next 6 months, I freelanced and gained some professional design experience by joining a marketing and design-minded career placement agency. Definitely, this would be something I would recommend to anyone who is fresh out of college. I wouldn't just first jump right into a job. It's nice to like try things out and, see if, agency life is where you want to go, or in-house, or maybe you just like to be a contract designer and freelance and try all different kinds of things. So I did this for 6 months, and they sent me to various job sites. I learned a lot of different skills that I didn't learn while I was in school. You learn way more on the job than you do in school. But after 6 months, I picked up and I moved to the Big Apple because, rom-coms, sexy graphic designers, that's where I wanted to be. I had my heart set on becoming a package designer for a luxury makeup brand at the time because, rom-coms, sexy graphic designers, in my head, that is what I wanted. But I felt like in order to do that, I needed some leverage. I needed a master's in package design. I needed something that would help me get my foot in the door. So I went to the Pratt Institute in Manhattan for graduate school to get a master's in package design. I wasn't really into the Pratt graduate program. I'm sure it's a great program, but once I was there, I felt like it was really redundant to my undergraduate program that I had just completed at MICA 6 months before. And the expenses of living in New York City, it was expensive. It was expensive then, and it's very expensive now. And I love visiting New York City. I love everything about New York City, but it was just too much for me. And, it came to a point where, and I always call this like, bottoming out. It really wasn't, but it came to a point where I had to decide between, do I eat dinner or do I buy a Metro card? Because that's where I was at. And at that point I was like, you know what, this is crazy. Why am I doing this to myself? I just decided it's time to go. So I packed up and I moved. Since I built my network back in Baltimore, and because that's where my boyfriend / future husband was living, I decided to move back, and I instantly got a job at a very well-known agency in town who does design for consumer packaged goods, and they're still there today. I thought this was my dream job. I was working on brands that I had dreamed of working on while I was in school. I mean, it was incredible that I got this as my first job, like my first real full-time job. But, personalities and office politics, it didn't really quite work out for me. I didn't feel like I fit in. It just wasn't the place. So, when the shoe doesn't fit, you just buy new shoes, like Carrie from Sex and the City. So that's what I did. I found a similar agency with some of the same clients and some similar ones that the previous company that I had. And it was actually a great agency. I loved working there. I had fantastic opportunities. I learned a lot, a ton. And I owe a lot to them because they were a stepping stone in my career for sure. And then life happened. I got married, I had babies, blah, 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 blah. And with all that going on, it was time to move out of the agency life. And I will definitely talk more about that on another episode. I decided to move into the in-house marketing world. And this is where I stayed for the majority of my career. While working in-house, I learned so much about marketing, copywriting, building campaigns, and of course, design strategy plays into all of that. I wore so many hats while working in-house at each of those places, which allowed me to become a very well-rounded creative person. There isn't something that I haven't tried, probably, I'm pretty sure. So after all these years of working in-house, I finally felt it was time to leave and start my own thing. That is when Hello Happiness Design was born. It was an up and down journey at the beginning, and they definitely don't teach business skills in art school. 5 months into my self-employment, an opportunity popped up for me to go back to working in-house again. While working in-house, I went back to MICA to attend graduate school online during the pandemic. So everyone was home, everyone was online. It kind of worked out. We Zoomed, we worked together. And I received my master's in business of art and design from MICA. I worked in-house for 5 years after starting Hello Happiness Design before I finally said it was time to do my own thing. I was done working to make someone else's dream come true. It was time to make my dream happen. So at the time of this video recording right now, I have been self-employed for 10 months, and it has been amazing. I have not looked back a single day, and I have not regretted a single decision I have made since. I love my clients, I love the projects I get to do, and of course, the time I get to spend with my family now. If you want to see what I work on, you can visit www.hellohappinessdesign.com. But of course, not everything is as rosy as it looks. So stay tuned for the next episode as we dive deep into my daily life as a graphic designer. And shoot me a comment or a question below, and I will try to answer it below or in the next episode. And of course, like this video and subscribe to my channel below and show me some love. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next episode.